And we are now live. Let's wait for a few folks to join us, and then we will get started. Chris, how you doing?
Good. How's it going, man? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're on here. Let's give it a few minutes or a few seconds anyway, and see who joins us, and then we'll get started.
All right.
So, how are things up there?
We've been talking about doing this for a while, so I'm glad we finally could.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you joining. So, we'll get some more folks in here in a second, but this is kind of what I wanted to add something different to the channel. And one of the areas that I wanted to focus on was other people. I think subscribers are a little bit tired of hearing my voice. They're tired of listening to me. And I wanted to start something called the Collector Spotlight. And we got 7 people on now. Thank you all for joining. Okay. But anyway, this is kind of other than my typical live streams with blacked out Ewoks and some of my other friends, I thought it would be fun to kind of do a formal long-form interview of another collector. And you were tops of my list. You're a good buddy of mine. This speaks a little bit to how awesome the toy community is. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but we met through my channel, correct?
We met through your channel, yeah, about a year or so ago.
Well, that's what I love about the toy community. Is you just meet so many great people, and we got a few folks that have joined us. We got Gerard, we got Blue Harvest Vintage Toys, we got Blacked Out Ewoks, we got Mr. Galaxy. Man, we got all kinds of good folks on here today. So
everyone's joining in.
Yeah, everyone is joining in. I'm going to scoot back just a little bit so my face is not blocked by the banner. For those who are joining, we are joined here by Chris. And Chris, I don't know if you can adjust your chair a little bit, but every time I put a comment on there, you're blocked. But it's okay. There you go. Look at that. Now we can see your beautiful face.
Now it's better.
Yeah, that's much better. So anyway, we're joined today by Chris W. He's a good buddy of mine who's a Star Wars collector. He's got a nice graded collection, and I think, I'm just going to dive right into these questions, but as you guys who are viewing, if you have questions, pop them up there and we'll try to get to them as best we can. So first of all, Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started collecting Star Wars.
Well, basically, I got into collecting because my older brother and sister liked Star Wars. So I kind of had all their hand-me-down toys growing up as a kid. So I've just always had it my whole life. And then when the Power of the Force 2 figures came out, that's what really got my interest back into it again. So after that, I got heavy into the vintage, probably like the late 90s, early 2000s probably. And it's been off and on since. Sometimes you need money. You have to get rid of a few pieces here and there. But for the most part, it's been pretty consistent.
Well, you have a beautiful collection as you're displaying behind you, so thank you for doing that. How did you get into, as you know, my channel is really devoted to graded Star Wars items. I probably take it just a smidge too far, but yeah. You have a beautiful collection there. And so how did you start getting into graded Star Wars items? And it looks like you maybe have some UKG, some CAS, some AFA. Tell us a little bit about your kind of transition into graded items.
Yeah, I pretty much have a little bit of everything, but I just like grading better because it's in a case. The presentation is just a lot better to me. I'm afraid if something falls down or gets broken from like a kid or something, it's going to break. So at least it's protected from discoloring and all other sorts of things. It's easier to display too.
Yeah, it is. It's easier to display. I like the authentication. And what are some of your areas of focus? You got a pretty wide range there of different items, and maybe just tell us what your genesis was like. Going from just collecting loose stuff to maybe some loose graded figures. I know that you have a fairly large Baggie collection and vehicles, things like that. Maybe just give us a little background on what you focus on and maybe how that's changed over time.
I started off with the full run of vintage figures, and that was really like my focus. But once I completed it, I started to get into vehicles and play sets. And now I'm into tri-logos. I love the tri-logo cards. I have a little over 30 of them. I have a bunch at CAS ready to be graded, ready to be sent in. Baggies, I'm really into baggies. I just got into those recently. I started sending those in to get graded. So I'm pretty much focusing right now on the vehicles and baggies and the tri-logos.
Now, tell the audience how many baggies you have, either graded or going to grading.
Altogether with baggies, I probably have about 70 altogether.
Wow.
I would say 25 of them or 30 are graded. Most of them are at CAS now, and then the rest will be sent in as soon as I have, more time and money to send them in.
That is insane. I mean, I've got maybe a 10 at the most. I mean, that is just unbelievable. And 30 tri-logos. Wow.
Here are some baggies that I have now.
Yeah, let's take a closer look at a couple of these. So, which Han Solo is that?
This is a Han Solo. This is a Return of the Jedi eye bag.
Now, I don't know baggies very well, but I wonder how common it is to see the first 12 figures in Return of the Jedi baggies. I can't believe it's that common.
You don't see much of them. I don't think he's that hard, but you don't see a lot come up for sale. There's a Jawa.
Wow. Which one is that?
This is a ESP-C bag.
Wow, very cool.
So pretty much
I love seeing
baggies, what I try and do is there's so many different kinds of baggies. You can go 7 or 8 different kinds for a figure. I'm just trying to do one baggie per figure and take it from there.
I think I have a fairly decent sized Darth Vader focus of just loose and baggies, and I have maybe 3 or 4 Vader baggies, and so I looked it up one time. There's a matrix somewhere online, and for Darth Vader baggies, there are over 70 from what I remember. Exactly. I was like, oh my God, that's just unbelievable. Crazy.
So if you start down that rabbit hole of collecting every different baggie for every different figure, it's just gonna go on forever.
Yeah, well, that's a negative and a positive, right? I mean, from my perspective, I love the infinite collectability of baggies. Getting all the different kind of font types and things like that, and some of the rarer ones that are out there. So it's a cool niche focus. And I think, have you ever had any issues with fakes? Because that's something that I see a lot of complaints about on Facebook with the Facebook groups. Is some collectors, not all, but some collectors have complained about fake baggies. And I know, for example, I bought an Emperor baggie that was a fake.
That was fake.
So I don't know. Yeah, have you had any issues there?
So if I buy a baggie off of eBay, I'll buy it, but I always use PayPal, and then I'll send it out to the guys in the Facebook group, and I'll send them pictures, and I'll help, they'll help me verify if it's real or not. A bunch of baggies that I have bought, were fake. And I send them back. As long as it's PayPal, you get your money back, so it's not that much of a problem.
What would you say is your rarest baggie that you have in your collection?
My rarest baggie?
And for those watching, thank you. We're interviewing Chris W. right now, and if you have questions, fire away. We'll try to get to them as best we can.
I would probably say my Prune Face baggies. A couple of Palatoy and Euro baggies. Supposedly, there's only a couple of them in the world each.
Wow.
I have one of each. I bought it off of Facebook, off of one of the groups. And those are ones that I'll probably keep forever.
Well, now this is your fault. You brought up Prune Face, and that is a character that you focus on. I've got to know why. Prune Face is he's a fairly obscure character. I don't even know his real name. I forget. It's on the VC card. But what is the obsession with Prune Face? You got to tell me.
Prune Face is the character that had 10 seconds of fame in the movie. No one knows who he is. So that's why I started to collect him, because nobody else wants him. I think he's actually a very detailed figure. Out of all the Kenner lines, I think he's very detailed. I think he actually came out very good. This is one of them.
Oh, look at that.
I did the cape on the side with the gun.
Very cool.
And
I've got one like that too. I love that case style.
This is a Letty one.
Lily Letty. Wow. Very cool.
They pretty much look the same, the Letty and the Kenner. There's not much difference to them, but, you know, I still had to have one of each.
And I see behind your head there, you got a blue Prune Face Polish bootleg. Whoever gave you that must be a real gentleman. That's what I got to say about that.
It was a really great guy who gave me that figure. It lasted for about an hour until my son dropped it on the floor and broke it.
I wasn't going to bring that up. So for those watching, I sent Chris here that blue Prune Polish bootleg Prune Face, and I'm not kidding. Within an hour of him getting it, his son somehow got a hold of it and dropped it and broke the case. So Chris is going to be sending that one back. Chris is going to be sending that one back into Collector Archive to get recased. But I thought it was so hilarious that within an hour of getting an awesome gift from a really good friend, he destroys it. But it's okay. It's okay. Stuff happens.
I hope when I send it back in, it keeps its grade right now, because it's pretty loose in there.
Yeah, well, you can take it out. I mean, it's happened to me before. You could pry it open and take it out of the case. That's what I would do. I'll talk to you offline about how to do that. It's not that hard. So
what I think I'm going to do with CAS is I'm going to tell them to maybe put a harness around the waist also. So when the shoulder harness breaks off, the figure is not falling around in the case and banging around.
Yeah, that's a great idea. They've done that for me for a few of my rare ones, like my Hungarian Luke Skywalker, things like that. Okay, so now let's switch gears a little bit. I'm going to ask you just some off the wall questions. Have you ever gotten rid of anything that you regret getting rid of?
I had a full mint on card run, I would say about 10 years, 15 years ago. And I really regret getting rid of those, but I needed money at the time. And I probably sold them pennies to the dollar of what they're worth right now.
Now, when you say a full carded run, what are we talking here? Are we talking Return of the Jedi? Are we talking a mixed bag? What are we talking about?
All of them. Star Wars, Empire, Jedi, Power of the Force, Tri-Logo, but I never had the General Nadine Tri-Logo.
That was the only one you were missing. Wow.
Only one.
That must have been painful. It must be painful to think about.
It is. I miss them, you know, and a lot of them were bought off of eBay through friends that I had made over the years. And then the other half were probably sold through eBay for very cheap 10, 15 years ago.
Well, it happens to all of us. You know, we certainly, at least I do. I've got quite a few items in my past history where I regret selling, but you know, it is what it is. Okay,
I go off and on now. That's why.
Yeah. Well, I think we all do to a certain extent. But so you mentioned that you have the full run or close to the full run. Have you got the full run of loose graded figures now? Is that correct?
The only one I need is R2, the Droid Factory.
That's right.
Some people don't really include him. I do include him, but he's actually the only one that I still need. Wow.
And do you have any plans to maybe go after foreign variants? You always make fun of me with my obsession with, like, you know, countries of origin and, you know, date stamps and all that stuff. Do you have any plans on that? I saw you got the Letty Prune Face. Why not go after some other Lettys?
Well, I started. So if a figure comes in Hong Kong and Taiwan, or if it's China, I do go after that, and I try and collect all the different COOs.
And that's as far down the rabbit.
Yeah, exactly.
That's as far down the rabbit hole as you want to go.
Any major variant, I like. That's what I went after.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so what are some of the sources that you use for adding to your collection? Obviously eBay, but do you do any shopping on Facebook, anywhere else?
So it was mainly eBay for the last 10, 15 years friends of eBay. And then it was guys like you who got me into Facebook, because I don't really like social media. But I knew that the point that I was at in my collection, I needed to go to Facebook and join these groups, because there's just so much more stuff that's out there that I didn't even know existed.
And the prices are much better, right? You know what I mean?
The prices are 10 times better. No taxes and everything. For now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I think Facebook's got its obviously negatives and outside of collecting, but that's the main reason I use it now. It's just I've met so many great people through it too, and I feel like the rare stuff, especially or the high grade stuff, it's pretty significant, the difference in prices, eBay versus Facebook, for the most part, not all the time. But.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of those pieces come up on eBay or for sale in general. So you need to be on Facebook and in those groups to actually see it.
Yep, and Stubaka, he's a buddy of mine. He says, "Shh, don't tell everybody. Don't tell everybody. We got competition." But I don't know. I guess from my perspective, I like seeing people join the groups. Yeah, well, I mean, I like seeing people join the groups because I feel like it's important to expand the communities, and there's so much stuff out there. I mean, good God, even if I was a billionaire, I wouldn't have the time to like collect. I mean, there's just so much awesome stuff that there's enough for everybody, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
So, okay, so what else we got here? I got a couple of other random types of questions here. All right, this is a good one. What do you dislike about Star Wars collecting? Is there anything that you would change, either about the community, obviously prices, but outside of prices, is there anything that you would change about the Star Wars collecting game, so to speak?
Honestly, not really. I love it. I think it's a great hobby. It kills time for me. It gives me things to look forward to. We all wish the prices were cheaper. Maybe
right.
20 years ago, they were a lot cheaper than they are now. But for the most part,
what do you think prices are going to do from here? I mean, I was surprised by during the pandemic lockdowns here in the U.S. I was pretty surprised by how much demand stayed strong, and if not, the prices, if anything, went up.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts about where they go from here?
Definitely during the pandemic, prices went up. I think a lot of people had free time. They were all sitting at home bored, and people were buying more stuff. I'm hoping in the future the prices continue to go up, because even though you're spending more money, it brings value to the stuff that you have. That's why you want to expand the community.
Do you worry? Do you even think about? I mean, from my perspective, yeah, it's awesome that stuff goes up in value, things like that. That's not really the main reason I collect. Is that always in the back of your mind, or is it kind of just something that occasionally you think about? Like, wow, I've got a pretty sizable collection now. Do you worry about values going up or going down and things like that?
I don't worry about it, but it's definitely in the back of my mind somewhere when you realize you're spending a lot of money on these, on these things, and you hope one day if you do sell them, or if you have to, you get your money back maybe, or a little bit more. I'm planning on passing this down to my son. I'm trying to get my son into Star Wars. So I'm starting him off with like Power of the Force 2 stuff, so then he can appreciate stuff like this and not break them on the floor like my Prune Face.
Well, hey man, my son is 8, and he's already like, I don't want that modern junk, Dad. I want the vintage bounty hunters. I want this. I was like, oh my God, what have I created? I've created a monster.
I hope so, because then people will still want these 20, 30 years down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so I got another question. How often do you submit items for grading? And have you ever been either pleasantly or unpleasantly surprised by the scores? And maybe just going a little bit of background on the process that you've gone through for grading stuff.
I try and send in, I would say, 1 package per month. I followed your rules.
Oh.
I send in a package per month. So then each month I send a new one in. So then hopefully over time it catches up and then I get one back. Because right now
it doesn't seem to work though, does it?
no, not at all. Because sometimes I'm waiting 6 months to get something back. I have things from June still at CAS that I'm waiting on. You know, and I went to AFA years ago, but the website was so confusing and I got so lost being on there. And CAS is just so much easier to use. Very friendly user, you know, to use the website. You just click it, add it to the cart, and that's it.
Rollins Review is great. He's got a great channel, by the way. He asks, what about insurance? Do you have your collection insured, and how do you handle that?
Right now, I don't.
Wow.
I've actually asked you about that in the past. It's
oh yeah, well,
it's something.
Yeah,
that
I would absolutely. I mean, look, my homeowner's policy luckily covers personal effects up to a certain amount, and I think that once I hit that limit, then yeah, I'm gonna have to get a separate policy. But they make contents policies, they make luxury policies, all kinds of, and it's actually fairly inexpensive for those watching that might have the same question. I've found that it's maybe $100 a year, $150 a year max. So it's well worth it.
A bunch of guys that I talk to that I'm friends with, they have the insurance policy out on it. They say the same thing. It's something that I have to do. It's worth it.
No, I agree. Okay, so now we're gonna dig. Now we're gonna pick on all the grading companies. Okay, I'm gonna exclude UKG since neither you nor I have ever submitted something overseas, obviously. But if you could pick one thing, just one, that you could change about AFA and that you could change about collector archive services, what would they be?
Are we talking about the return time on items when we send them in?
It could be anything. Anything you wanted, anything that you could change about either one of these companies and how they handle their business.
I think AFA set the standard. That's what I think. Maybe some of the items hold more of a value if it's AFA. But I think in the future, I think CAS is just going to be one of the best ones, if not the best out there. It's so much easier to use the website when you're logging on and sending items away. They're very up to date on everything. AFA is not going to do this.
Yeah, so explain to the viewers what this is, because this is a really cool item.
So this is a Darth Vader clipper. He's still sealed in the box. But how do you know it's really Darth Vader that's in the box? You don't know. So CAS has this option where they do an X-ray of what's inside the box. They send a picture along with it. I don't know if it's coming through. Yeah. So just exactly what's actually in the box. And
how cool is that?
Stuff like that just sets it apart from the rest, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's very, very cool. On a side note, since we're talking about the grading companies, Boss Bounty, who's got a big channel, I can't believe he's stooping so low as to join such a lowly channel, but he is. But he asks, do people in the States dismiss collector archive services due to them not being around as long as AFA? Do they accept the score over, say, an AFA grade? And I have an answer for that. I'll let you talk first, though.
I think most people probably do. I think they think that you have to use AFA. That's the best company. They've been around the longest. And that's probably all true. But CAS, they do so much custom work. They have so much stuff there that anything you want to do is possible. And I have some really wacky ideas that I'm going to be sending in soon with play sets and vehicles. And AFA is not going to be able to do that. Well,
and I think to tag along to your answer, I think that in general, once you know what you have in terms of how they score items, I've talked about this on my channel probably longer than people care about, but UKG and collector archive services tend to score about a half a point higher than AFA. I've taken items that were UKG graded. I've taken items that are AFA graded, and I've sent them into collector archive services just to kind of as a test. And in general, they come back at the same scores.
Okay.
But you know, there's a certain subset of collectors. Maybe I don't want to call them snobbish or elitist, but you know, there are certain collectors that are not going to view collector archive services graded items in the same light that they do an AFA item. That's just a fact. And you know, whatever, everyone's entitled to their opinion. But you know, and I would say that like an AFA 85 vinyl Cape Jawa is going to sell for higher than an 80, you know, the exact same grade collector archive services. And the reason being that if you took that collector archive services item and sent it to AFA, not all the time, but sometimes it'll score half a point lower. It just depends on how close it is. Yeah. So I don't know. I understand the question, and I'm sure there is a certain subset, but I don't have a problem using them because number one, they grade things that collector archive doesn't grade. The customization that you mentioned, I mean, I've got some stuff that's just insane, and there's no way that AFA could even put it together. So, you know, there's advantages and disadvantages to each, and I've used both in the past, and I like both. So
we have those die casts being graded, the ones that you just got recently. I have 3 of them there right now. I don't know if AFA even does that.
No, they stopped grading loose graded die casts a long time ago, and I mean those cases are second to none. And thank you, by the way. I mentioned this in my video for it, but yes, thank you for finding that Vader and that snow speeder, man. They are gorgeous, and you know, when you sent me the photos, they are just way better than I expected. So I appreciate that.
No problem.
Well, let me see what other stuff we got here. Do you? Oh, this is a good one for you because I know the answer on this, and I find it hilarious. But do you collect anything other than Star Wars? What other kind of collections do you have?
So I have one other collection that's before Star Wars, and it's sneakers.
Sneakers.
Very big into sneakers, mainly Jordans. I probably have about a little over 100 pairs.
That's so did you say 100?
100 pairs, yeah.
Wow. I mean, I've got maybe 3 pairs, so that's pretty incredible.
The room I'm sitting in right now, on the opposite wall, is actually a wall of shoes.
That's pretty insane. And you buy and sell them and everything?
I buy and sell them. Yeah, exactly. There's actually a lot of money in those too.
That's hilarious, man. But that's cool. I mean, hey, we all got our thing, you know. So I'm not judging, you know. Do you collect any non-graded Star Wars stuff, or is everything pretty much graded in your collection?
Everything is graded. Yeah, I only collect graded stuff personally.
What are you on the hunt for right now?
I would like to finish my Tri-Logo run, actually. I would like to finish that, and I've been collecting 31 backs.
That's right. That's right. Now tell us now why did you pick the 31 back of all the different card backs?
So my favorite figure of all time, my favorite mint on card, is actually the white Bespin guard. I don't know why, but it's just my favorite carded figure, the 31 back A. And I don't have it here right now. It's actually at CAS, but I want to finish that whole run. So right now, this is the Leia.
31 back Leia. Wow. And that got an 80 plus. Wow. Amazing.
I got the bubble protector on it.
That is gorgeous.
And then I have Luke.
Wow. The walking photo Luke. Unbelievable. What grade did that get? Got an 80 on that one. Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful.
These are very hard to find unpunched with a clear bubble. They're starting to get very scarce out there.
What other ones are in your collection, or are those the 3 you got so far?
Those are the only 331 backs so far.
What's next? What's next?
My Tri-Logos.
Well, I mean, the 31 in terms of 31 backs. What's your next one?
Probably my FX7. Probably, I would think. I'm looking.
I love
for
the
a nice
FX7
one of him.
Yep, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, going back again to your. I mean, I'm looking at your behind you. I mean, it looks like you've got a biker, a speeder bike, you got a Rancor, you've got a Cloud car, you got the Ewok catapult. What possessed you to get all of these loose graded vehicles and mini rigs and playset types thing? Wow, look at that. Okay. So we got the mini rig, the desert, what's it called?
The desert mini skiff. Actually
yeah,
has
sail skiff.
in it.
Now this is a UKG item, is my guess. Looking at
this is UKG, yeah.
So
how
cool.
Much right now, most of my stuff is from UKG when it comes to vehicles and play sets, because I have a lot of stuff at CAS being graded or that I'm going to be sending in. It just takes, it takes 6 months for it to come back. So
yeah, as those start coming in, I know what you got out there, and I as those start coming in, we definitely got to do another video. Look at the Jabba, man. Very cool.
To me, I think this is beautiful. You can stare at the box all day long, but when we were kids, we were playing with this. I want to see this. That's what I want to see.
Right.
The box has beautiful artwork, but I miss seeing what it actually looks like sometimes.
Yeah, and I bat this back and forth all the time with Blacked Out Ewoks. He and I don't know. I sometimes I agree that with you in the fact that it's nice to see the actual toy, and then Blacked Out Ewoks is like, if I can get it inside the box, I'm going to get that every time. So I don't know. I go both ways. I think either way looks awesome. I just there's something about a factory sealed.
But the price is probably double for what it is in the box.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So
it is easily.
When you're collecting stuff and you want to just, try and get everything, to get it in the box, mint and sealed, it's just very expensive.
Oh, it adds up quick. It adds up quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so one last question, and then we'll, maybe, let folks ask any other questions before we wrap up. But what's your favorite item? If you had to pick one item in your collection, what's your favorite? And then what's your your very next Grail type piece that, when I say Grail, I mean an affordable Grail, something that you could afford.
Right now, I would say this is probably my favorite item.
So we got a revenge proof for the Cloud Car pilot. I'm drooling over here, man. I've got a Cloud Car pilot on the way, and I would love to have that as part of my collection. So
this is the one thing that I will probably never ever sell.
I really appreciate you buying that. I appreciate you buying that when it was on eBay. I was looking at it and I was thinking about buying it, but you took it, you snatched it out from under me.
When you told me you weren't going to bid on it, I made sure to go for it. So
no, I'm kidding. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's probably the one item that I would never get rid of. I don't have an answer as to why, but I just love it. It's something that I would love to give to my son for when he gets older and just keep it.
Well, they're doing nothing but go. Anything pre-pro vintage Kenner is doing nothing but go up in value right now. So I think that was a good buy, especially when you got it. And now in terms
for a very good price.
Yeah, you really did. You did. I was so tempted. What in terms of what you're looking for? Let's pick. Let's say you had to get one kind of Grail item that's in your budget. What do you want to look out for, especially so I can keep an eye out for it and buy it out from under you?
The one that I want, my Grail, is probably a Boba Fett Lily Letty with the removable rocket.
Well, that's something that I would love to have, but I will never own, given the prices. They're incredible. There's been a few popped up though.
Yeah, no, a few have popped up. I think it's something that I will get down the road when I'm done with everything else here. Even if I sell a few things to get it.
Yep.
It's one of the items though that I would love to have in my collection. Boba Fett, he's the best character. People are gonna love him for years and years.
Exactly right, man. There's always what we call the Boba Fett premium. Take whatever if you got the same grade and the same card back. If it's Boba Fett, what's the number? What's the number? I hear 25%. I hear 50%. I mean, the Boba Fett premium is a moving target these days, especially now with Mandalorian.
You never have trouble selling anything Boba Fett.
No, that's right. Namis asks, is it possible to get those clear housings other than when you get something graded? And, you know, GW Acrylic makes the mint on card cases. You can look them up on Facebook or on the web, GW Acrylic. In terms of loose graded, I've seen smaller kind of cases that maybe are not quite as detailed. You know, they don't have like the etched accessory cases and things, but there are folks out there that make some kind of semi-custom cases out there.
Well, doesn't CAS do that also, but they don't grade it? They just do the case only?
They do. Yeah, they do. It's pretty expensive, obviously. But yeah, if you wanted a kind of a custom fit case that's non-graded or archived or whatever, they do also offer that. So
okay.
Okay, so any other questions before we wrap this up? This has been a lot of fun. We're trying to keep these fairly at a reasonable time frame, but I'm hoping people enjoy these and would like to see more of them. You know, for those watching that are comfortable in front of the camera, obviously you'll never be as good looking as me, but if you want to get on here sometime, with me, you know, just reach out to me by private message. I enjoy these kind of collector interviews. Every collector's different, right, Chris? We all have our thing. You know,
we all have our different.
Yeah, we all collect something a little different. There's so much cool stuff out there that it's just nice to see what other people focus on and what their experience is, you know, either graded or ungraded, and how they like to spend their time and money. But, you know, this has been a lot of fun, and I look forward to getting a heads up from you when that next batch comes in from Collector Archive, so we can do a semi-live,
Should be very soon.
Unveiling of some of the cool items you got coming back. So I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I'm glad that it finally worked out and I was able to come on and show some items. I have a lot more to show. So in the future, let me know and we can do it again.
Yeah, you definitely have a lot to show. Your man cave gives me something to aspire to. I know you got that in progress, and I'm awfully jealous about the amount of space you have. Space is at a premium in AFG's household, and I'm running out of room. And you got basically unlimited space down there.
Yeah, well, don't tell my wife that because she wants to get rid of it already.
Oh man. Okay. Well, we're gonna keep that quiet then. But thank you for everyone who joined. There's a lot of great commenters in here that have their own channels: Old Plastic, Blue Harvest Vintage Toys, Boss Bounty, Blacked Out Ewoks. You guys are awesome to join today, and I really enjoy it. And for those that I'm leaving out as I finish this up, Rollins Reviews is another one. Only One Kenobi. Just great channels, and I encourage everyone to check those channels out. But thanks again, Chris, and I look forward to doing it again soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Signing off. Thank you, guys.